Hi, I'm Chloe Fontain, and you're watching The Buzz on BPTV Networks. Today's topic, we're going to touch on bullying. Many children and teenagers have experienced some sort of bullying throughout their grade school years. And though many may think that it's just harmless teasing, the negative effects can last well into adulthood. Now, with the help of social media and the internet, bullies, which were once only able to terrorize these children during school hours, are now terrorizing them 24 hours a day. As a result, these children often commit suicide or even fatally attack their bullies. Bullying is not illegal in the United States, so how do we put a stop to this? How do we help these children who are being bullied and have these children who do bully understand the effects of their actions? I'm here in Washington Square Park, and I would like to know what you guys think. I'm Chloe Fontaine, and you're watching The Buzz on DBTV Networks. Have you ever been bullied or know anyone who's been bullied?
I personally have known people who have been bullied in school, but I myself have never been bullied. I think it's mostly those people that don't appear to be, as cool as like the popular group of people in school, and it's all about kind of isolating like either just one person who's always alone, who seems a little bit more different than other people. So those are the people that usually get bullied. Cyberbullying is a lot easier for kids to kind of do, just because when you're on the internet, it's not like you have like a lot of, I guess, people watching you, so you're more likely to kind of step out of the usual boundaries of what's considered like orderly conduct and kind of insult people more. So, and also because the internet's always with us, whether we're in school, whether we're in at home. So it happens 24/7 because we have this constant connectivity to the internet, and we're more likely to kind of be more aggressive on the internet because we just don't see that person face to face.
Now, why do you think bullies get any pleasure or joy out of bullying someone that they might seem weaker or uncool?
I think bullies do, just because they want to prove themselves. So people generally bully because they don't feel very uncomfortable, very comfortable with themselves. So they're more likely to kind of like project that insecurity onto others. So whenever that person kind of feels like they're above another person, they're more likely to kind of feel better about themselves. I generally believe that like the rate of people kind of committing suicide, it's not necessarily that it's more than before, it's just that it's more public now because we can share it all over the internet, and whenever someone kind of, you hear someone kind of commit suicide, it's more, the school is aware of it. They become more likely to kind of offer that type of emotional support if like that the person who committed suicide had friends and stuff like that. It kind of spreads with word of mouth. In regards to people committing suicide, I think that people just want to kind of show, they have no outlet kind of to show that they're in pain or that they are struggling. So the only way that they can kind of publicly tell others that this is what's going on is by a physical act of violence, whether it's to themselves or to others. And generally, if they just say it, that they're struggling, maybe just with the current society today, no one really takes that seriously. So whenever it's some harm done to themselves, people kind of realize the magnitude of like what they're going through.
Money also is a big problem for bullying, because people who get all the nice clothes and shoes and they see people that don't have those things, they're like, oh, haha, you don't have that, and that makes people feel bad. I think that's...
Now, what about cyberbullying? Because before, bullying was just like, at the schoolyard or doing school, and now you have these bullies that are taking to the internet and attacking people. What is that all about?
When people post a picture, someone can comment, oh, like, you don't look that good. And it brings people's self-esteem down. And then they see other people post pictures and they compare themselves to them. And people making mean comments about their pictures. It's a cycle. And it happens every day to a lot of people.
Now, people who are bullying, do you feel that they're either lacking in some sense or they're feeling good about bullying someone else?
I think they feel good about it, and it does make them feel good about themselves. When they put other people down, they think they're better than that other person, and that's why they feel good about it.
Now, have you ever been bullied or know someone who's been bullied?
I was bullied throughout middle school a lot. Everyone had better clothes than me, and they made a lot of fun of me for being the new girl. I didn't have that many friends. It's so weird. They make fun of people's body type in middle school, and it doesn't matter then. So I don't know why that was even a thing.
Does any of that affect you today?
Definitely. I think about like my body type. I compare myself to other girls all the time, and I wish it's something I could get over. But because of the things that I heard in middle school, I still think now, and it's still a problem.
Now, what do you think we can do to kind of minimize this? Because bullying is not illegal, but it does affect people in such a negative and in such a strong way. What can we do to help minimize bullying?
I think people should know that they're able to go and talk to someone about it, so they're not thinking all these negative thoughts in their head by themselves, so that they can go talk and express themselves and realize that all these mean things that are being told to them aren't true. So more advertisement for like going to see mental health people, or just teachers paying attention in school, really, because they see it happen and they stand by and let it happen.
All right, thank you so much.
No problem.
I always hear that it's a cycle and that, the bullier has been bullied before. I think maybe like the home environment may influence that. I also think it's just and people always say the bully's insecure, but I don't think that's always the case. I think it's just maybe like how certain values are shown to the bully, and I think the more the school addresses it, the less likely it is. So, yeah.
Now, have you ever been a victim of bullying or know someone who has?
I've been teased, and I think pretty much everyone has experienced being teased in some way. But yeah, I definitely know a lot of people who have been bullied. I think it's still common. So.
Do you think this is something that lasts with you, throughout your adult years or throughout your years right now? As some people might think, it's bullying is like harmless teasing, it's just kid stuff, but...
No, people definitely are affected, especially as a kid. Like, the things people say to you play a big part in shaping how you think about yourself.
Now, in recent news, you'll hear stories about children who are bullied committing suicide or even going to school with weapons to attack their bulliers. Why do you think that's more common now?
Is it more common?
As far as the news reporting it, it seems to be more common.
I've also heard that, violent video games have encouraged that. I'm not sure if that's true. I just feel like maybe I'm not really sure that influence is coming from, honestly. I think that this isolation is just, and I feel like video games or there's something in the media that's kind of really encouraging that sort of outlet.
Desensitized to that kind of thing.
Yeah, desensitization and the glamorizing of violence. And so maybe people think that's the way out.
My older brother was bullied a lot in school, in the locker room, and it was usually a lot of stuff about his body and being a skinny Asian kid. Now he's super bro-y, so sometimes I like thinking of a relationship between the two where he sort of just tries to overcome that experience by sort of projecting it in terms of being hyper masculine or sort of hurting others sometimes. So I think it's sort of a cycle in that way.
And in the news, sometimes you hear that children who are bullied, they'll commit suicide or they'll attack their bulliers and sometimes kill them or fatally attack them. Why do you think that happens? Why do you think they go to that extreme?
I mean, I guess it's really painful, especially when you're so young and you're still developing and you're forming your sense of self. So when you when you're treated that way by a bully when you're still young, it really affects you. And I think sometimes when you're still trying to figure out who you are, if you're bullied at that point, you start having a really negative self-perception, and sometimes it just seems like suicide or hurting others is the best way to deal with that.
Do you think?
Oh, I just wanted to add, I also think nowadays when everything is so online, it's pervasive and you can't necessarily escape it, and I think that adds another layer that makes it so overwhelming you feel like you can't ever get out of it.
Now, why do you think bullies do take to online and social media to terrorize people now?
I mean, I think part of it is the anonymity that it provides in certain cases. I also think that like it kind of allows you to remove yourself from it. Like media nowadays, it's very immaterial, so I don't think you feel the same connection as if you were doing it in person. And so there's a distance there that gives them the feeling, I guess, of having more power in those situations.
Now, can anything be done to minimize bullying in school?
If it was like to try and counter that, maybe having more education and conversations amongst like administrators and maybe outside like nonprofits coming into speaking with kids to make sure they really understand, I guess, like the psychology of bullying and ways to prevent it. And I think the biggest thing is also knowing how to find help, like if you are being bullied online or in person or whatever it is, because I think part of that power that you talked about is like removing the victim's feeling that they can do something to regain power. And so, yeah, over the situation.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm doing a research paper on bullying, on LGBT bullying.
Okay. Have you or anyone you know been bullied in school?
I haven't, but I know other people that have, yeah.
How do you think bullying affects people?
I think bullying can lead to a lot of negative outcomes later on in life, and the trauma that people can endure because of it is really like an inherent disadvantage later in life.
Now, a lot of people will say that at some point in time that they've been bullied. Why do you think that's so common in school?
I think school creates an environment that's not inherently positive, and I don't think a lot of counselors or staff overtly try to promote a safe environment for especially minorities and LGBT students. And I think that that kind of negativity and just kind of accustomedness to like negative attitudes towards minorities and towards people who aren't in the majority kind of creates a really toxic kind of system within that little bubble.
Now, before bullying was mostly like at school and during school hours, but now with the internet and social media, you have bullies terrorizing people 24/7. Now, how do you think that affects people?
I think because the anonymity of the internet, a lot of people don't really realize the extent that they're bullying, like what the effects of it can be because it's online. But I think that those who are being bullied online, they experience the same kind of victimization as people who are bullied in real life.
And sometimes you'll hear on the news that someone who is bullied commits suicide or will bring weapons to school to attack their bulliers. Why do you think they go to such extremes to counteract the bullying?
I think a lot of it has to do with coping mechanisms and like attack other coping mechanisms, like people who decide that to kind of take some control over like their own life, they need to be violent towards others, or people develop really shameful feelings towards and attitudes towards themselves because this idea is perpetuated and they don't get and if you don't have a really great supportive network telling you that, you know, these things aren't true, then you're likely to develop a lot of negative feelings and shameful feelings towards your own identity, which can be really harmful.
Now, what can we do to minimize bullying, to kind of prevent it from escalating to the point of violence, or for these students to even know what they're doing to these people?
I think a lot of it is about promoting an inclusive environment within the school and promoting it within students too, so it's not just on an individual case-by-case basis, because that's not addressing the root problem of bullying, it's just addressing an individual problem. But like if you actually take systematic steps, like government-wise and school-wise with administration, towards helping counselors reach out to students and be more inclusive, and to even teach lessons on LGBT history or on Black Lives Matter or more inclusive classes, and making the curriculum more inclusive, I think students will become more understanding.
Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.
Have you or anyone you know been bullied?
Yes.
Have you been bullied?
Have I been bullied? Maybe not in the stereotypical sense, but I feel like there are a lot of pressures from society that could, you know, be bullying
Yeah, maybe
in a
not, like,
sense.
direct bullying, but like cyberbullying that
Yeah, or like the kind of I'm forgetting the word. The standards that society holds to you is, I feel like, a sense of bullying.
expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Now with cyberbullying, can you delve more into that? Because I'm interested in the cyberbullying, being that before bullying was mostly like school and school grounds, but now you have the cyberbullying where it could happen 24 hours a day. What are your takes on that?
I think it's really sad. And I think it's sad that people find the need to do it in the first place because it doesn't really get you anywhere and it doesn't help anything. And I think a lot of the time people are, delving into their own insecurities and taking it out on other people. And it just creates this circle of insecurity and, bad behavior.
Now, has it affected you later on in life?
I feel like I realize those things more now than I did earlier because I'm more aware and more involved in like social media and stuff. And thankfully, I feel like I see it more than it happens to me, but it's terrible.
Now in the news, you'll hear that some children who are bullied, they'll either commit suicide or some will bring weapons to school to attack their bulliers. Why do you think some people take those measures to counteract the bullying?
You mean because they are bullied or they see bullying?
They are bullied.
Because I think that a lot of the time, especially with cyberbullying, you go through it very, by yourself, and maybe you just don't have the outlets or the people of support to feel like you can reach out in another way or like make it different in another way. Maybe you don't have a strong enough voice. I don't know.
Now you're saying people who are cyberbullied, they go through it by themselves. Do these people feel that they can't go to an administrator or their parents or someone?
I don't know. I think that can be scary sometimes to do that. And maybe it reaches a certain point with some people to where it becomes anger. So that's why they take it out that way instead of, reaching out to someone for help or advice.
Do you think bullies even realize what they're doing to the people that they're terrorizing?
No, because I mean, sometimes, yeah. But I think, like I said before, a lot of the time it comes from, like, a personal place where it's like they're fighting insecurities of their own and they're taking it out on other people.
What can we do to minimize bullying?
I think what you're doing is great, like bringing awareness to it and talking about it, but maybe provide help for people and more outlets for people who are bullied to, have conversations about it and feel comfortable to talk to other people about it.
Have you or anyone you know been bullied?
No, not my school, because in my school, like, they don't like bullying. So, with bullying, like, you can get expelled automatically. So, really, bullying's not really allowed in my school. So, yeah.
Well, that's very good. So your school takes action against bullies. So if someone says, I'm being bullied, they'll go to the principal?
Yeah, they'll go to the principal and say something.
Many children and teenagers have said that they've been bullied. Have you guys been bullied or know people who have been bullied?
Yeah, yes, I have.
I went to a really small school, so I didn't really experience that, but I'm sure it does happen at larger schools.
Okay, now that you've had an experience with bullying, has it been your personal experience or a friend?
I've seen, my friend who is like, definitely got bullied a little. It wasn't like anything intense, but you see people bullying. It's like very much there. Like I've seen it multiple times in like bigger schools.
Now, why do you think people get bullied?
Because the bullier wants to feel some type of power, probably. So they know if someone's not as like strong or tall or cool as them or whatever, they can pick on them and feel some type of power.
Now, the effects of bullying can last into adulthood. Do you think bulliers really understand what they're doing?
I think they do, but they like to push it back and like think that they don't. Like they just want to deny what it is. So in their minds, they don't know what they're doing, but like they do. Yeah.
And now with cyberspace and the internet and social media, you hear that bulliers are taking to the internet to terrorize people. And with that, some people are just being overwhelmed and committing suicide or maybe even attacking their bulliers. Why do you think that someone who's bullied might take that kind of extreme response?
Someone who's bullied, because it can be an intense situation if the extent of the bullying is like everywhere. It's like it never leaves you. It's not like it's just at school. It's like wherever you go. So it can feel overwhelming.
Do you think there's an outlet for people who are bullied to go and tell and get help?
Sometimes telling might make it worse, I feel like, but it's definitely in the end worth it because at least that way, like, you have an adult handling and it's not just on you. Yeah.
What do you think we could do to minimize the bullying so it's not so common in schools and online?
I think, like, teaching people at a younger age how to be respectful to each other. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bullying in school is not good. Not good at all. If you have a problem with somebody, you should definitely just communicate with them verbally and talk it out. You know, it's really good to communicate with your words first before jumping to conclusions.
Do you think students that are bullied, they have an outlet to express what's happening to them?
No, not always. I feel like sometimes you don't want to go to your teachers. You don't know who to talk to. I feel like if teachers opened themselves up a little bit more and said, hey, come chat with me after school, after hours, I'm here for, a half hour, let's talk about it, that would be really amazing. Even guidance counselors, you should never feel ashamed to talk to somebody.
And now you hear sometimes students or kids who are bullied, they might commit suicide. Why do you think that's happening?
Not enough outlets, not enough communication. People feeling ashamed, people feeling like it's their fault, and it's not your fault, it's never your fault. Just look out for someone you can talk to before jumping to conclusions or doing something as drastic as taking your life.
Like a lot of children, they'll say that they experience bullying either in like grade school or high school. Why do you think that's so common?
Oh dear, I don't know. I don't know why that's so common. I guess people aren't raised from a young age that that's not okay. I don't know. I was someone who got bullied. I don't know why people bully people. But
why did you get bullied?
I wasn't a very attractive person when I was little. And I had a little bit of social anxiety, so I think that added to it. But yeah, I don't know why people do it. It's terrible. I think there needs to be more action done on the part of administration, teachers, stuff like that, because oftentimes they don't do anything. And it can be small things or serious things, like from you're overweight to I remember there was one kid who immigrated to our school and he got seriously bullied for his race and all this stuff, and teachers never did anything. So I think it's that. It's just there needs to be more serious action on the side of the teachers, but I don't know why it happened, so.
Now, the kids that are bullying, do you think they realize the effects of their actions?
Depends on the age. I think elementary school, no. Probably not. But it's always the same kids from elementary school to high school who are doing it. But I think by the time high school hits, they just don't give a damn anymore. But when I think when they're young and it's starting, I don't think so. I don't think they understand the consequences of their actions at all, no.
And what do you think we can do to minimize the bullying?
I think just teaching kids from a young age, having classes specifically set aside for, sensitivity to everything and, people's differences and stuff like that. I guess. I know these are pretty I feel like generic answers. I'm sorry, but yeah, thanks. But yeah, I think just starting from a very, very young age, just ingraining those beliefs at a very young age instead of, oh, everyone's 17 and about to graduate, bullying's bad, blah, blah, blah. It needs to start in kindergarten, grade 1. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, have a great day.
You too.
I personally have not been bullied. I'm way out of school now, but at the time, bullying was a problem in my high school, and so we did a lot of group initiatives. So they would take about 5 or 10 students that were seen as quote-unquote influencers of some kind and kind of bring them or partner them with students that were being bullied. So in that way, I guess it was slightly helpful in kind of allowing them to get into social circles that they wouldn't have experience with prior to. But I wouldn't say it fixed the whole problem. I think that there's just this high school intention of being separated and isolated and kind of targeting certain people that might not be confident in themselves. So I don't know how to address that problem at the moment, but I do think it's prevalent in schools.
Now, when the bulliers are bullying, do they Do you think that they understand what they're doing to these people?
No, I think it's very much everyone sees it as a joke, or it's kind of like we're all growing up and kind of, I don't know, sort of, it's all unintentional, it's all like soft, and like they didn't really mean it, or like they're just words or whatnot. It's usually verbal abuse, it wasn't oftentimes physical in my experience, so yeah, I don't think people understand the intensity of their actions afterwards.
Yeah, sometimes in the news you'll hear that someone who has been bullied might commit suicide. Why do you think they might go to that extreme?
I think because the main portion of bullying is this feeling of isolation, this sense of no one understands where you're coming from, nobody likes you, you're not really worth staying on, you're helping, or you're doing people a favor by leaving the world in some way, shape, or form. So when you don't want to tell your parents or your guardians at home what's going on with you, and you don't have any friends in school, or you don't do anything social, it's very easy to get into that mentality and kind of go to the extreme, which is unfortunate, but I think that's kind of the steps that you take to go there. It's not as outlandish as someone on the outside would see.
A lot of what I think the problem is bystander intervention or lack thereof. I think that especially when you're in grade school and you're looking to fit in and you don't want to stand out in a bad way, you just kind of want to be a cool kid or not be the kid who ends up getting picked on. You might not do anything if you see someone experiencing bullying, and what I would like to see is a lot of conversation, a lot of education around what it means to be a bystander and what it means to help somebody in need, and that would be something beneficial, I think.
That would be great.
That's what I got for you.
Now, kids who do bully, do you think they understand the consequences or what they're doing to these other children?
I mean, I'm sure it varies between individuals, but I think that a lot of what we see is hurt kids taking out their anger or taking out their anxieties on other people and looking for a way to build up a wall around themselves to protect themselves. And we also have to look into the mental health or the general welfare of kids who are not acting the way they should, and make sure that we're protecting them as well so that they can learn that they are safe and that things are okay and they don't have to act in that way, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah,
Sure.
Children who are bullied, do you think that they have an outlet or somewhere to go to say, hey, this is happening to me and I need help?
I'm sure not as much as they ought to have. I think it's difficult asking for help, and we aren't always great at offering help and making sure that that's available and not seen as a sign of weakness. I think that there's a lot of fear around seeming weak, especially if you're a young kid growing up. You don't want to seem weak at any point, and asking for help sometimes is perceived as a weakness. But if we can kind of fight that stigma and make that a more viable option, that would also be incredibly useful.
Yeah, sometimes on the news you'll hear that someone who has been bullied, they might come to school with a weapon to attack their bulliers. Just a couple of weeks ago in the Bronx, someone brought a knife and fatally stabbed their bullier. Why do you think kids might go to that extreme?
Oh, I can't say that I know. I've never been in that situation, so I don't know what I would do. I would hope that they would not need to resort to something like that, but I mean, I don't really know what's going on in their life that they felt that was the best option.
Now, what do you think we can do to minimize bullying?
I mean, I'm sure it'd be useful to talk to a lot of child psychologists and people who work with children every day and who know kids best and are able to hear them and hear their perspectives as well. I think that we also definitely underestimate a child's ability to problem solve and create policy for themselves and their peers that is useful and that actually can be really effective. It would be really important to hear their voices as well.
I'd like to get your opinions on bullying.
Bullying? It's dumb.
Waste of time.
Have you or anyone that you know been bullied in school?
Yeah, I think, in some way everyone has in a way, so.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think it's so common?
I think a lot of people, there's definitely a self-confidence issue with a lot of people, so I feel like that's where it really stems from. so they take it out on other people.
I'll have to say the same.
Okay, and the people who are bulliers, do you think they realize what they're doing?
I think in a sense, yeah, you have to take responsibility for your actions, but
I don't know if they know like
I
the
don't-
extremes
yeah.
of it, like how far it can go and hurt someone else. You know what I mean? Like they know what they're doing, but they don't know how it actually affects the other person that they're hurting.
Because sometimes you hear that bullying, the effects of it can last well into adulthood. So now people are aware, like, oh, this happened to me as a child, and now I'm still bothered by it now. That's the thing. Do you think bulliers understand that this is something that's going to last with them probably forever?
No, I think because if it usually happens when you're younger, I think kids think usually like things are just temporary. You know what I mean? You don't really have that like things that like, would last for a while. So I don't think that they would think it would hurt someone else for that long.
what do you mean? Like in the workforce, like up until adulthood?
Right. Like someone say, like, if they were bullied for their weight, and now they get older and they might have like an eating disorder, or they have like
does it stick with the person?
Right.
Yeah, obviously, like a lot of people don't get over that stuff. Like it sticks with them. So it's just a matter of either like learning how to not take that to heart and just be your own person and know that their opinion doesn't matter. And it's like a self-confidence issue, like with them and then also with the person being bullied.
Now, kids who are bullied, do you think that they have an outlet or somewhere to go to say, hey, this is happening to me? A teacher, an administrator, someone that
No.
they feel comfortable with?
I would have to say no, honestly. I don't think so.
I mean, there's definitely places that say that you should go, and people, there are, in effect, like when I was in high school, there were definitely some teachers I could go to if I was ever bullied. But like I never like went through that, but I know a few friends that trusted the guidance counselors and went to their guidance counselors. So I think it's a matter of if you really trust that person. But I know there are efforts being taken and like people that will help you through that.
Now, sometimes you hear that a student who's bullied, they might commit suicide. Why do you think they might go to that length?
I don't know. I can't really comment like on that serious matter because when I was in high school, a lot of kids during my semester committed suicide due to bullying. So I don't know. It's like a difficult topic to really talk about because I can't get in that mindset really.
So I feel like if you're not experiencing it, it's kind of hard to explain why, since probably the person who even committed suicide might not even know why. You know what I mean? Things happen. So it's just a thing of like feeling as much as you're hurting, you know?
So what can we do to minimize bullying?
I don't know.
It's definitely like I think it's gotten a lot better, but I mean there's still a lot of efforts to be taken because you see like in sitcoms or TV shows, I think it's a lot better than how it is. It was a lot worse in like TV or back then, and now I don't see kids like getting shoved into lockers. But that might just be like where I live.
I think it's just more like I think more than ever, it's like on social media now, especially with like internet.
People are calling people
yeah,
out, and that's
you
what
can
should
even do it
happen.
anonymously now.
Yeah.
So so it's like I think it can take a toll on someone else, especially because you can delete something, but it can't actually be deleted. You know what I mean? So you can always go look back on that. And when it's on social media, like everyone's seeing it. You know what I mean? So it's not just like you and the bully. It's like you and everyone else who clicks on that link to see whatever they said about you.
Now, why do you think they are going to social media to bully now?
People like to mask behind a screen, and it's a lot easier to be mean to someone when you don't even.
Like, why are bullies going behind
They
online?
might use like Facebook or Instagram or something like this to like create memes and attack someone in their class or someone that they know. It's like
easier, especially in schools. They're probably more strict on like fights or something like that. So in social media, it's not really controlled by anyone. Like on school grounds, you know what I mean? Like
a lot of
you can
people
get
behind like that mask, which is
that's what I would say.
And now with the help of the internet and social media, bullying, which once lasted during school hours, can now last 24 hours a day. Many teens and children will tell you that throughout their school years, they have experienced some form of bullying.
What my opinion is? Yes. Don't do it.
And usually you find a bully is a coward.
So we need justice on earth.
Today I'm in Washington Square Park asking people, why is bullying so common in schools? And though many did not know why bullying was so common, they did admit that either they were bullied or knew someone who was bullied. And unfortunately, the effects of bullying does last well into their adult lives. Now, we need to open up communication and have a safe space for children who are bullied either at school or online to talk to someone and tell them what's going on. Because suicide or hurting the person who is bullying you is never the right answer. What do you think? Go to dbtvnetworks.com and let me know. I'm Chloe Fontain, and you're watching The Buzz.